Every successful day begins with a decision to rise with purpose rather than drift with routine. The way you start your day determines how you live it, and how you live your days determines the life you build. Muniba Mazari often reminds us that success doesn't start when the spotlight shines on you. It starts in the quiet hours when no one is watching, in those early moments when you choose intention over distraction. Most people wake up and instantly reach for their phones. They scroll through other people's lives before they even begin living their own. Their minds fill with noise before their thoughts even find direction. But imagine instead waking up and asking yourself, what do I want this day to mean? That one question changes everything. Because when you start your morning with clarity, you lead your day instead of letting the day lead you. Muniba's mornings are a reflection of this mindset. Despite her challenges, she doesn't allow her circumstances to dictate her energy. She often shares that gratitude is her first thought every morning, not because life is perfect, but because she chooses to see what's beautiful about it. And that's where purpose begins. When you open your eyes and thank life for giving you another chance to grow, you start your day from a place of abundance, not lack. You start with power, not pressure. Starting your day with purpose doesn't mean you need a rigid routine. It means you need an intentional one. It could be as simple as sitting quietly for a few minutes, breathing deeply, or writing down your goals for the day. It could be saying a prayer, taking a walk, listening to something uplifting, or journaling your thoughts. The point isn't what you do, it's the awareness with which you do it. Because intention is what transforms ordinary actions into meaningful habits. There's something magical about mornings. They're a fresh start, a reminder that no matter what happened yesterday, you have another opportunity to realign yourself today. But that magic fades quickly if you begin your day on autopilot, rushing through routines without presence. Muniba often says, don't let your mornings become mechanical. Let them be mindful. When you slow down just enough to connect with your purpose, the rest of your day flows with direction and calm. Purposeful mornings also help you handle challenges better. When you start your day grounded in gratitude and clarity, setbacks don't shake you as easily. You become more focused, patient, and emotionally strong. You stop reacting to everything around you and start responding from a place of balance. That's the difference between a day lived by design and a day lived by default. There's also a deeper truth. Starting your day with purpose builds self-trust. Each morning you follow through on your intentions. You're silently telling yourself, I can rely on me. That kind of confidence doesn't come from achievements, it comes from alignment. And when you repeatedly choose actions that match your purpose, you develop the discipline that success demands. Muniba's journey is a living example of what happens when purpose drives you. Her mornings aren't just about waking up, they're about showing up. Fully, consciously, courageously. She didn't wait for her life to be easy before she chose purpose. She found purpose in her life exactly as it was. That's the essence of success, not waiting for perfect circumstances, but creating powerful habits within imperfect ones. So, when you wake up tomorrow, don't rush into your to-do list. Take a moment to be still. Remind yourself that this day is a gift, and how you use it matters. Say thank you, not just with your words, but with your actions. Move your body, clear your mind, and set one clear intention for your day. It doesn't have to be big. Even something as simple as, I will stay positive, or I will give my best effort, can transform your energy. Remember, success doesn't start with luck or talent. It starts with habits. And the first habit that shapes everything else is how you begin your day. Start your mornings with purpose, and soon you'll find that you're not just chasing success. You're living it one intentional sunrise at a time. Believing in yourself is the first real step towards success. Everything else, the plans, the goals, the dreams, only takes shape once you truly believe that you are capable of achieving them. Muniba Mazari often says, "The world will only believe in you when you believe in yourself first." And she's right. Self-belief isn't arrogance or pride. It's faith, faith in your own abilities, your resilience, your vision, and your purpose. Without that faith, even the best opportunities can slip through your fingers because doubt will always whisper louder than potential. When you believe in yourself, you give your dreams permission to exist. You tell the universe, "I am ready." But believing in yourself doesn't mean you'll never feel fear or uncertainty. It means you'll keep moving forward despite them. Muniba's story is a living example of that courage. After her accident, when her body was broken and her spirit tested, the world didn't expect her to rise again. Many might have thought her story had ended. But Muniba chose to rewrite it. She believed that her life still had meaning, that her voice still mattered, that her pain could still serve a purpose. And because she believed, she became a voice of inspiration for millions. That's the power of self-belief. It transforms the impossible into the achievable. It doesn't erase challenges, it gives you the strength to face them. When you believe in yourself, you stop waiting for approval. You stop seeking validation from others because you realize that your worth isn't determined by opinions. It's defined by conviction. People who achieve great things aren't always the smartest or most talented. They're simply the ones who refuse to doubt their own capacity. But believing in yourself isn't something that happens overnight. It's built one small act of courage at a time. Every time you show up, even when you're scared, you strengthen that belief. Every time you take a risk, push through fear, or try again after failure, you send a message to yourself, "I can do this." And those small victories accumulate until they become unshakable confidence. Muniba often talks about how people told her she couldn't do things, that she couldn't walk, couldn't paint, couldn't speak in front of crowds. But she didn't let their disbelief define her limits. She proved that you don't need perfect conditions to believe in yourself. You just need to start. And that's a message for all of us. If you're waiting for the world to validate your worth, you'll be waiting forever. Start believing now, even if it feels uncertain, because your self-belief will grow stronger every time you act on it. It's also important to remember that believing in yourself doesn't mean you'll never fail. You will, and that's okay. Belief isn't the absence of failure. It's the determination to rise after it. Every time you fall and get back up, your belief deepens. You start realizing that you are capable of handling more than you ever imagined. And once you learn that, nothing can stop you. Not fear, not failure, not doubt. There will always be people who won't see your vision the way you do. Some will doubt your path because they can't imagine it for themselves. But that's where you must stay firm in your belief. As Muniba says, "Don't let anyone's disbelief become your truth." The world often mirrors how we see ourselves. If you see yourself as capable, strong, and worthy, others will begin to see it too. So believe, even when it's hard, even when you don't see immediate results, even when others don't understand. Believe in your dreams, your talents, and your capacity to grow. Because belief is the seed of every success story. It's the foundation on which confidence, courage, and achievement are built. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that your belief was the turning point, the quiet decision that changed everything. Just like Muniba Mazari, you'll see that the moment you stopped waiting for others to believe in you and chose to believe in yourself, that was the moment your life truly began. Motivation feels good, doesn't it? It's that spark that pushes you to start something new, the energy that gets you excited about your dreams. But here's the truth that many people forget. Motivation doesn't last. it fades as quickly as it comes. One day you feel unstoppable, ready to conquer the world, and the next you can't even get out of bed. That's why Muniba Mazari reminds us that success is not built on motivation alone. It's built on discipline. Discipline is the quiet strength that keeps you moving when the spark of motivation burns out. There's a reason why people who rely only on motivation rarely finish what they start. Motivation depends on emotion, discipline depends on commitment. Motivation is what gets you started, discipline is what keeps you going. And the people who succeed in life are not the ones who always feel inspired. They're the ones who show up even when they don't. Muniba often says, "You won't always feel ready, but you must always stay consistent." That consistency, showing up again and again, is what transforms effort into excellence. Think about it. Every great artist, athlete, or leader you admire has one thing in common. They practiced discipline long before success found them. They worked when they were tired, they pushed through doubt, and they stayed consistent when no one was watching. It wasn't always exciting, and it wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. Because discipline builds results, and results build motivation again. It's a powerful cycle, one that begins with commitment, not feeling. Muniba's story is a perfect reflection of this truth. After her accident, there were days when even simple movements were painful. But she didn't wait to feel motivated, to start painting again, or to rebuild her confidence. She disciplined herself to practice every day, to keep her mind positive, and to stay grateful no matter how hard it got. That's what made her strong. Discipline gave her a reason to move forward, even when she didn't feel like it. It became her foundation, her silent promise to herself that no matter how she felt, she wouldn't give up. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about doing one small thing every day that takes you closer to your goals. It could be waking up a little earlier, reading a few pages of a book, or practicing your craft for just 30 minutes. These small, disciplined actions may not look impressive in the moment, but over time, they shape your destiny. Muniba often says that discipline is a form of self-respect, because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your belief in who you are. When you rely on motivation, your success becomes unpredictable. You only move when you feel good. But when you rely on discipline, you take control of your future. You stop depending on moods and start depending on habits. That's where real power lies. The disciplined person doesn't ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "What needs to be done?" That simple shift separates dreamers from doers. There's something deeply freeing about discipline, too. It might sound rigid, but it's actually what gives you control over your life. When you live with discipline, you're no longer a prisoner to procrastination or inconsistency. You find peace in structure, pride in progress, and strength in routine. It's how you build momentum that no obstacle can break. So when you find yourself losing motivation, don't panic. Instead, fall back on your discipline. Let your habits carry you when your emotions can't. Remember that success is not about what you do occasionally. It's about what you do consistently. Every disciplined choice, every time you show up even when it's hard, adds up. Muniba Mazari's journey is proof that discipline outlasts everything: pain, fear, and doubt. Her story teaches us that you don't need to feel ready, you just need to stay committed. So don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect mood. Start now, keep going, and let discipline become your greatest source of strength, the force that keeps your dreams alive long after motivation fades. Failure, a word that most people fear, yet it's one of life's greatest teachers. Everyone wants success, but few are willing to face the discomfort that comes with failure. The truth is, no one reaches greatness without falling first. Muniba Mazari often says, failure doesn't mean the end, it means the beginning of understanding yourself. And she's absolutely right. Every failure you face carries a lesson that no book, no mentor, and no victory can ever teach you. It shapes your character, deepens your wisdom, and builds your resilience. Most people see failure as something shameful, something to avoid at all costs. But avoiding failure means avoiding growth. When you fear failure, you stop taking risks, you stop trying new things, and you stop dreaming big. You trap yourself in comfort, and comfort never creates change. Muniba's journey teaches us that life doesn't punish you with failure, it prepares you through it. Each setback, each rejection, each no you hear is secretly shaping you for the yes that's meant for you. After her accident, Muniba's life changed overnight. She lost her ability to walk, and for a moment, it felt like she had lost her identity too. The world around her saw her as broken, but she refused to let that be her truth. She embraced failure as a part of her transformation. Instead of asking, "Why me?" she asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift in mindset turned her pain into power. Her wheelchair, which many saw as a symbol of limitation, became her stage, a place where she could inspire millions. That's the beauty of embracing failure. It gives you the strength to rise in ways you never thought possible. When you fail, it hurts. There's no denying that. But failure is never final unless you stop trying. Every time you get back up, you become stronger, wiser, and more confident. You begin to realize that failure doesn't define your worth. It refines your will. It teaches you what doesn't work so you can discover what does. Muniba often reminds her audience that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. You can't skip the lessons that failure gives and expect lasting success. The people who win are the ones who refuse to quit when they lose. Think about any great achiever in history. They all failed, often more than they succeeded. But what set them apart was their response. They didn't let failure stop them. They let it strengthen them. The same applies to each of us. When something doesn't work out, a dream, a job, a relationship, it doesn't mean you weren't good enough. It just means life is redirecting you towards something better suited for your purpose. Muniba's philosophy on failure is rooted in acceptance. She teaches that it's okay to fail, to fall, to feel broken. But what's not okay is to stay there. The moment you decide to rise again, you've already turned failure into fuel. Each mistake becomes a stepping stone, each setback a lesson in disguise. And once you start viewing failure this way, it loses its power to scare you. Embracing failure also builds empathy. When you've fallen, you understand others who are struggling. You become kinder, more patient, more grounded. You stop judging others by their mistakes because you know what it takes to start over. That's a form of strength that only failure can teach. So, the next time you fail, don't run from it, face it. Reflect on it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Because hidden within every failure is a seed of success waiting to bloom. Muniba Mazari's story proves that falling doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've been given another chance to rise stronger. Remember, diamonds are formed under pressure, not comfort. Success is born through struggle, not perfection. Every failure is shaping you into the person you're meant to become. Don't fear it. Embrace it. Because the people who learn from failure don't just succeed. They inspire. And that's exactly what Muniba did. She turned her failures into the foundation of her purpose, proving to the world that even the hardest falls can lead to the most beautiful rises. The people you surround yourself with shape your mindset, your energy, and ultimately your success. Muniba Mazari often says, "You become a reflection of the company you keep." And it's true. Your environment is more powerful than you realize. The friends you spend time with, the conversations you entertain, the energy you absorb, all of these influence how you think, feel, and act every single day. If you want to grow, you need to be around people who push you higher, not those who pull you down. Positive energy is contagious, just like negativity. When you're surrounded by people who believe in possibilities, you start believing too. But when you spend too much time around complainers, doubters, or those who constantly criticize, it drains your motivation. You begin to shrink your dreams just to fit in. Muniba reminds us that if you're always trying to please people who don't understand your vision, you'll end up betraying your own potential. Success requires courage, and sometimes that means walking away from people who no longer align with your purpose. There's a powerful truth that Muniba often shares. You don't have to cut people off to grow. You just need to change the direction you're facing. That means you can still care for others, but you must protect your energy. Spend more time with people who encourage your growth, who challenge your excuses, and who celebrate your progress, not those who compete with it. Surround yourself with dreamers, doers, and believers, because their energy will remind you that your goals are possible. Muniba's journey beautifully illustrates the power of positive connections. After her accident, she could have easily isolated herself. There were people who pitied her, who looked at her with sadness. But she chose instead to surround herself with people who saw her strength. Her family, her mentors, her friends who believed in her potential even when she doubted herself. That support system became her strength. They didn't just comfort her, they inspired her to rise, to paint again, to speak again, to live again. That's the magic of being surrounded by the right people. They remind you of who you are when you forget. Energy is invisible, but it's powerful. You can feel it when you walk into a room, whether it's uplifting or heavy. Protect your space. Protect your peace. If someone constantly drains you with negativity, you have the right to step back. You owe it to your dreams to stay around energy that fuels you. Because success isn't just about talent or hard work, it's also about alignment. You can't fly high if you're surrounded by people who keep clipping your wings. It's also important to remember that being around positive energy doesn't mean everyone has to agree with you. In fact, real growth often comes from people who challenge you in healthy ways. You need those who give honest feedback, who hold you accountable, who tell you the truth even when it's uncomfortable. That's how you evolve. The right people don't just make you feel good, they make you better. Muniba often says that you must be intentional about your circle. Ask yourself, do the people around me lift me up or weigh me down? Do they inspire me to dream bigger or make me doubt myself? Your answers will tell you a lot about the direction your life is heading. Because over time, your circle becomes your mirror. And while you seek positive energy from others, don't forget to be that source for someone else. Be the kind of person who inspires others to keep going, who brings light instead of judgment, who listens without envy. The energy you give out is the energy you attract. Muniba lives by this principle. Her positivity draws people in, not because her life is easy, but because her spirit is genuine. So choose your circle wisely. You don't need a crowd, you need a core. A few people who believe in you, support your purpose, and push you toward your potential. Let go of toxic ties, release relationships that drain your spirit, and make room for those who add value to your journey. Because at the end of the day, your environment is either helping you grow or holding you back. Surround yourself with positive energy, with people who speak life into your dreams. And you'll find that success becomes not just achievable, but inevitable. Perfection is a myth that steals joy, progress, and peace of mind. So many people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect idea, the perfect plan, the perfect version of themselves before they start chasing their dreams. But perfection never comes. And while you're waiting, time keeps moving. Muniba Mazari often says, perfection is not real, progress is. Because success isn't about doing everything flawlessly. It's about doing something consistently. The people who achieve great things aren't perfect. They're persistent. When you focus too much on perfection, you create fear. You hesitate to take action because you're afraid of making mistakes. You become your own obstacle. But progress is freeing. It allows you to take imperfect steps, learn, and grow along the way. Muniba's story is a beautiful example of that. After her accident, she didn't have a perfect plan for how to rebuild her life. She didn't know exactly how she'd inspire others or what her next chapter would look like. But she started, painting, speaking, sharing her truth, and every imperfect step she took led her closer to her purpose. Perfection tells you, wait until you're ready. Progress whispers, start now, you'll learn as you go. The truth is, no one is ever fully ready. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story started with uncertainty. If you wait for conditions to be perfect, you'll never move. Progress requires courage. The courage to begin before you have all the answers. Muniba often reminds her audience that life is not about having a flawless journey. It's about having the faith to keep walking, even when the path isn't clear. When you focus on progress, you allow yourself to grow naturally. You learn from your failures instead of fearing them. You celebrate small wins instead of dismissing them. You become kinder to yourself. That's where real growth happens, not in perfection, but in persistence. Muniba often says, celebrate every little victory. It means you're still moving. Because those small victories, those seemingly tiny steps, are what eventually create transformation. Perfectionism also kills creativity. When you're obsessed with doing everything just right, you leave no room for exploration or mistakes, and mistakes are where innovation lives. Think of artists, leaders, inventors. None of them succeeded because they were perfect. They succeeded because they were brave enough to try again after failing. Muniba's art, for example, wasn't born from perfect technique. It was born from raw emotion, from truth, from heart. Her imperfect strokes told a story that perfection never could. When you focus on progress, you start trusting the process. You understand that every setback is shaping you, every delay is teaching you, and every challenge is strengthening you. You stop rushing the journey and start learning from it. That's when growth becomes meaningful. It's also important to remember that progress looks different for everyone. Some people move fast, others slow. And that's okay. Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Comparison steals your peace and distracts you from your purpose. Muniba often reminds people that you are your only competition. Your goal should be to be better than you were yesterday, not better than someone else today. When you let go of perfection, you open the door to self-acceptance. You stop beating yourself up for not having it all figured out. You begin to enjoy the process instead of fixating on the outcome. And that's when success starts to feel fulfilling instead of exhausting. Because true success isn't about achieving perfection. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, one imperfect step at a time. Muniba's life embodies this truth. Her journey wasn't perfect. It was messy, painful, unpredictable, but it was real. And because it was real, it inspired millions. Her story teaches us that authenticity matters far more than perfection ever will. People connect with your humanity, not your flawlessness. So stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect you. Take that first imperfect step. Write that book, start that business, share that story. Learn that skill. Progress is what turns dreams into reality, and every small effort counts. Remember, perfection is an illusion, but progress is power. Keep moving forward, and soon you'll realize that every step, even the messy ones, was leading you exactly where you were meant to be. Self-discipline is the bridge between goals and achievement. It's what separates those who dream from those who do. You can have all the talent, intelligence, and opportunity in the world, But without discipline, it means nothing. Muniba Mazari often says, motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. And that's the truth, because motivation fades. Some days you'll feel inspired and ready to take on the world, but other days, you won't even feel like getting out of bed. That's when discipline steps in. The quiet force that pushes you forward, even when your emotions don't. Discipline isn't about being harsh or rigid with yourself. It's about commitment. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable. Muniba's life is a beautiful example of how discipline can transform pain into purpose. After her accident, she had every reason to give up, every excuse to stop trying. But she didn't. She built her life back piece by piece, day by day, with consistent effort. She didn't rely on bursts of inspiration. She relied on her daily habits. That's what true discipline looks like, showing up even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Many people wait to feel ready before they take action, but discipline teaches you that readiness is a myth. You'll rarely feel ready, but if you start anyway, your actions create readiness. Muniba often reminds her audience that discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence. You don't have to get everything right, you just have to stay consistent. Small daily actions compound into massive results over time. Think of discipline as self-respect in motion. When you keep your promises to yourself, you build trust in your own strength. You stop breaking commitments and start believing that you're capable of more. Each day you stay disciplined. Whether it's sticking to a routine, learning something new, or simply maintaining a positive mindset, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your excuses. That's a powerful feeling, and it builds confidence like nothing else can. Muniba's journey shows us that discipline doesn't come from external pressure. It comes from internal purpose. When your why is strong enough, discipline becomes natural. She wasn't disciplined because someone told her to be. She was disciplined because she had a purpose bigger than her pain. She wanted to inspire others, to show them that limitations only exist in the mind. That vision kept her going through days of exhaustion, frustration, and doubt. Purpose fuels discipline, and discipline keeps your purpose alive. It's easy to get caught up in distractions. In today's world, everything competes for your attention. Social media, entertainment, other people's opinions. But discipline teaches you to say no to what doesn't serve your goals. It's not about restricting yourself. It's about protecting your focus. Muniba often shares that discipline is freedom, freedom from regret, freedom from inconsistency, and freedom from the chaos of a scattered life. When you're disciplined, you control your time instead of letting time control you. But remember, discipline doesn't mean you never rest. It means you rest with purpose. You recharge, not retreat. You pause to regain strength, not to give up. Balance is part of discipline too. Muniba's story reminds us that self-discipline isn't about pushing yourself to the point of burnout. It's about learning when to slow down and when to rise again. There will always be days when you don't feel like showing up. Days when everything feels heavy and progress seems invisible. But those are the days that define your growth. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. Discipline turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers because it teaches them to rely on habits, not moods. So if you want to create lasting success, start mastering self-discipline. Wake up with purpose, set boundaries, keep promises to yourself. Do one thing every day that moves you closer to your goal. It doesn't matter how small, it matters that you do it. Over time, these small actions will create unstoppable momentum. Muniba Mazari's story teaches us that discipline is not a burden, it's a blessing. It gives structure to your dreams, strength to your purpose, and meaning to your journey. Success doesn't come from luck or timing, It comes from consistent effort guided by a clear purpose. Discipline is the invisible force that transforms vision into reality. So stay committed, stay focused, and remember, self-discipline isn't just about control. It's about creating the life you deserve. Gratitude, a simple word, yet one of the most powerful forces that can transform your life. It's easy to focus on what's missing, on what went wrong, or on what you wish you had. But gratitude shifts that focus. It turns "I have to" into "I get to." It changes ordinary moments into blessings and challenges into lessons. Muniba Mazari often says, when you start counting your blessings, your life begins to multiply them. And she's absolutely right. Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances overnight, but it changes how you see them, and that changes everything. After her accident, Muniba had every reason to feel broken. She lost her mobility, her dreams of modeling, and the future she once imagined. But instead of sinking into bitterness, she chose gratitude. She decided to be thankful. Thankful for her life, for her breath, for the second chance to make it meaningful. That shift didn't erase her pain, but it gave her purpose. Because when you live with gratitude, even pain becomes a teacher. Gratitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about acknowledging that even in imperfection, there's something to be thankful for. When you practice gratitude daily, you start noticing the small miracles you used to overlook, the warmth of sunlight on your face, the smile of a loved one, the strength you show after every setback. These small acknowledgments create a ripple of positivity that changes your energy and, in time, your reality. Muniba's journey is a living example of how gratitude can heal the soul. She often says that gratitude gave her the courage to move forward when everything else felt like it was falling apart. It's what turned her wheelchair from a symbol of limitation into a throne of empowerment. Gratitude made her realize that, while she may have lost something, she still had everything she needed to make a difference: her voice, her heart, her spirit. That's the magic of gratitude. It turns loss into learning, scarcity into abundance, and pain into power. When you live with gratitude, you stop comparing your life to others. You stop feeling like you're behind. Because gratitude teaches you that you already have enough to begin. It grounds you in the present and helps you see how far you've come instead of how far you have to go. Muniba reminds her audience that comparison kills joy, but gratitude revives it. It helps you understand that success is not about having more, but about appreciating what you already have while striving for what's next. Gratitude also builds resilience. When life tests you, being grateful doesn't mean ignoring your pain. It means finding light even in the darkness. It's saying, I may not have everything I want, but I have what I need to keep going. That mindset turns obstacles into opportunities. And it's this attitude that allowed Muniba to rise after tragedy, to turn her story into one that inspires millions. Practicing gratitude doesn't require grand gestures. It begins with small, intentional habits. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for each day. Saying thank you more often, or simply pausing to appreciate the moment you're in. The more you practice it, the more your brain learns to focus on abundance instead of lack. You start noticing how much beauty there is around you, even on difficult days. And perhaps the most beautiful thing about gratitude is how it connects you with others. When you're grateful, you naturally spread kindness. You become more patient, more compassionate, more giving. People are drawn to your energy because it feels genuine, grounded, and warm. That's exactly what makes Muniba's presence so powerful. She radiates gratitude in every word and every smile. Her life reminds us that gratitude is not about ignoring pain, but about choosing joy despite it. So start today. Take a moment to breathe and think about everything you have. Not what's missing, but what's here. The air in your lungs, the lessons you've learned, the people who believe in you, the strength you've gained through struggles. Every single one of these is a reason to be grateful. Gratitude doesn't just make you happier, it makes you whole. It helps you see life not as a burden, but as a blessing. It transforms obstacles into stepping stones and turns ordinary moments into miracles. As Muniba Mazari's story shows us, life becomes truly beautiful the moment you stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you." Because gratitude is the foundation of peace, joy, and success, the kind of success that comes not from having everything, but from appreciating everything you have. Confidence is not about being flawless, loud, or fearless. It's about being comfortable with who you are, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. True confidence doesn't come from appearance, achievements, or approval. It comes from self-acceptance. Muniba Mazari embodies this truth beautifully. She often says, "When you accept yourself the way you are, the world starts accepting you too." Her journey reminds us that real confidence begins not when everything is perfect, but when you decide to love yourself as you are, imperfections and all. Before her accident, Muniba's life was full of dreams tied to external validation, modeling, appearances, and the world's definition of beauty. But after she lost her mobility, society tried to define her by her limitations. People whispered that her life was over, that she was broken, yet she chose to redefine beauty and confidence on her own terms. She looked at herself in the mirror and decided that her scars were not signs of weakness, but marks of survival. That's where her confidence was reborn, not from being who she used to be, but from embracing who she had become. Confidence is not about never doubting yourself. It's about believing in yourself even when doubt is loud. It's the quiet voice that says, "I can still do this," when everything around you says you can't. Muniba's story proves that when you stand firm in your truth, nothing can shake you. People will always have opinions, but their opinions lose power when your self-belief becomes stronger. So many of us wait for permission to feel confident. We think, "I'll be confident when I lose weight, when I get that job, when I achieve something big." But that mindset only keeps confidence out of reach. Confidence doesn't come after success. It creates success. When you believe in yourself enough to take the first step, you build the momentum that leads to greatness. Muniba's journey shows that confidence is not about circumstances. It's a choice. A decision to show up fully, even when the odds are against you. Real confidence also comes from authenticity. When you try to be like others, you lose your power. When you embrace your uniqueness, you find it. Muniba never tried to hide her wheelchair. She made it part of her story, her identity, her strength. That's why her presence is so inspiring. She's unapologetically herself. Confidence grows when you stop pretending and start owning your truth. You don't have to fit in to belong. You just have to stand tall in your authenticity. Confidence also means being kind to yourself. We often mistake self-criticism for self-improvement, but tearing yourself down never leads to growth. Confidence is not arrogance, it's compassion. It's treating yourself with the same encouragement you offer to others. Muniba teaches us that when you speak to yourself with love instead of judgment, you become unstoppable. It's also important to remember that confidence is built through action, not thoughts alone. Every time you take a small risk, face a fear, or try something new, you strengthen it. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. The more you practice, the louder your confidence grows. Muniba didn't start as a world-renowned speaker. She became one by showing up again and again, even when she was nervous, even when her voice trembled. Confidence is built one brave moment at a time, and perhaps the most empowering part of confidence is this: it inspires others. When you stand in your truth, you give others permission to do the same. Muniba's confidence has touched millions, not because she portrays perfection, but because she shows courage. She proves that beauty, strength, and confidence are not about what you have, they're about who you choose to be. So, if you want to build true confidence, start within. Stop comparing yourself to others and start celebrating your own journey. Focus on your strengths, learn from your flaws, and speak to yourself with kindness. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs the real you. And when you start showing up as that version, raw, real, and unapologetic, your light will shine so bright that no one can dim it. Muniba Mazari's life teaches us that confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build through acceptance, courage, and purpose. When you finally decide to own your story, every scar, every setback, every victory, you become unstoppable. That's when confidence stops being something you seek and becomes something you are. Kindness is one of the most underrated habits of truly successful people. The world often tells us that success is about power, fame, or wealth. But Muniba Mazari teaches something far deeper. She reminds us that success without kindness is empty. Because no matter how far you go, how much you achieve, or how many people know your name, it's the way you treat others that defines the legacy you leave behind. Kindness is not weakness. It's strength wrapped in compassion. It's the ability to stay gentle in a world that sometimes isn't. Muniba's journey is a living example of this truth. Despite facing unimaginable pain, she chose kindness over bitterness. She could have easily built walls around herself after her accident. Walls of anger, frustration, or self-pity. But instead, she opened her heart wider. She chose to use her voice not to complain, but to uplift others. Every time she speaks, she spreads hope, reminding people that kindness can heal wounds that words alone cannot. Her warmth, her empathy, her willingness to listen, that's what makes her story so powerful. She doesn't just inspire through her words, she inspires through her kindness. Being kind doesn't mean you let people walk over you or ignore your own needs. True kindness is balanced. It's having a soft heart with strong boundaries. It's understanding that compassion begins with yourself. Muniba often says, be kind to yourself first, because only then can you truly be kind to others. Too often, we pour from an empty cup, trying to please everyone while forgetting our own worth. But kindness that excludes self-love eventually burns out. You can't light up others if your own flame has gone out. Kindness also has the power to transform perspectives. You never know what battle someone else is fighting. A smile, a word of encouragement, a simple act of understanding. These can change someone's entire day, even their life. Muniba's kindness radiates because it's real. She listens. She empathizes. She connects. Her story teaches us that you don't have to be famous or rich to make a difference. You just have to be kind. In today's world, kindness is revolutionary. It's easy to be critical, to judge, to compete. But it takes courage to be kind. It takes inner strength to choose love when it would be easier to respond with hate. Muniba has faced criticism, doubt, and negativity, yet she continues to respond with grace. That's what true success looks like, rising above cruelty without losing your compassion. Kindness also builds bridges where walls once stood. It creates trust, connection, and respect. The foundation of any meaningful success, whether in relationships, work, or leadership, kindness makes people feel seen and valued. And when people feel valued, they give their best. That's why the most effective leaders aren't the harshest. They're the kindest. They inspire loyalty not through fear, but through empathy. Another thing Muniba often shares is that kindness multiplies. When you show kindness, it doesn't end with you. It ripples outward. One act of kindness can inspire 10 more, creating a chain reaction of positivity. And the beauty of it, it always comes back to you in ways you don't expect. You attract peace, trust, and genuine connections, the kind of thing success alone can't buy. Even small acts matter. Holding the door open, offering a compliment, listening without judgment, forgiving when you could hold a grudge. These simple things have immense power. Muniba's life reminds us that kindness doesn't require a grand gesture. It just requires intention. Every person you meet is fighting an unseen battle, and your small act of kindness could be the light they need to keep going. And perhaps most importantly, kindness keeps you grounded. It reminds you of your humanity. When success tempts you to focus on yourself, kindness brings you back to purpose, the reason you started in the first place. Muniba's success isn't measured by fame or recognition. It's measured by how many hearts she's touched. That's the kind of success that never fades. So, as you walk your own path, choose kindness. Not because it's easy, but because it's powerful. Let your words uplift, your actions inspire, and your heart stay open. Remember that you can be strong and kind at the same time. In fact, the strongest people always are. Muniba Mazari's life teaches us that kindness is the true mark of greatness. It's not what you have, but how you make others feel that defines your success. And in the end, when people remember you, they won't recall your possessions or your titles. They'll remember how you made them feel. Be kind, and you'll leave behind not just success, but significance.